Boy, you think that uniform makes you somebody? Deputy Trent Lawson snarled, his voice thick with contempt under the bright light. In one swift, merciless motion, he raised his service weapon and fired 3 shots directly into Captain Darius Hale's chest. Darius reeled backward, a sharp cry escaping his lips as searing pain tore through him. He crumpled to the pavement, blood spreading rapidly across his shirt. Each breath a struggle, each heartbeat a reminder of betrayal and utter humiliation. A proud officer, defender of his nation, now lying wounded and helpless at the feet of hatred. Those 3 bullets, captured in crisp detail by Lawson's own body camera, would prove to be the beginning of the end. They would unravel a carefully hidden world of extremism, destroy careers built on false authority, and force a reckoning that no badge could shield. Before we go deeper into this powerful story, tell me where you are watching from in the comments. If it moves you, please subscribe and like. It helps share these important truths. Captain Darius Hale had given 20 years of his life to the United States Army. At 45, he was a captain nearing retirement, respected by his soldiers, decorated for courage under fire during 2 tours in Iraq. He carried himself with quiet dignity, the kind earned through hardship and sacrifice. He had finished an overnight shift at the base, tired but content. He drove his aging Ford Explorer toward home, thinking of his son away at college, planning a quick call to hear the boy's voice. The flashing lights appeared suddenly in his rearview mirror. Darius pulled over without delay. He placed both hands visibly on the steering wheel, just as he had been taught, both in the military and by hard experience as a black man navigating American roads. When Deputy Lawson approached the window, Darius spoke calmly. "Good morning, officer. My license and registration are in the glove compartment. I am active duty Army. My military ID is in my wallet." Lawson's face hardened. "Step out of the vehicle." "Sir, may I reach for my ID first?" Darius asked, keeping his tone respectful. "I gave you an order," Lawson snapped. "Out. Now." Darius opened the door slowly, hands raised high. He stepped onto the pavement, standing tall in civilian clothes that hid none of his bearing. "Officer, I am complying. I am not armed. I am not resisting." Lawson's response was immediate. He deployed pepper spray straight into Darius's face. The burn was instant, blinding. Darius staggered, eyes streaming, coughing violently. Yet he kept his hands up. "Please, sir, check my ID." "You don't tell me what to do," Lawson growled. He shoved Darius hard against the car, then stepped back. His hand moved to his holster. Darius, half blind from the spray, raised his hands higher. "Officer, I am no threat. I serve this country." Lawson's eyes held cold fury. He drew his pistol. "You people always think you're above the law." The first shot struck center chest. Darius gasped, shock and agony flooding him. The second and third followed in rapid succession. He felt his legs give way. The world tilted. He hit the ground hard. Blood warm and spreading beneath him. Pain consumed everything. Breath came in ragged gasps. Humiliation burned deeper than the wounds, reduced to this, on a public road, for no crime beyond existing. In the distance, sirens began to wail. A second patrol car had rounded the corner just in time to witness the aftermath. The arriving officer's voice cracked over the radio. "Shots fired. Officer involved. Victim down. He's military. Send ambulances now." Paramedics fought to stabilize Darius on scene. His heart faltered once, then steadied under their urgent care. At the hospital, surgeons worked for hours removing bullets, repairing damage. One round had missed his heart by less than an inch. He survived, but the cost was immense: physical scars, lingering pain, and a wound to the soul that no surgery could mend. His sister Sophia arrived as he emerged from recovery, a civil rights attorney with fire in her eyes. She demanded the body camera footage immediately. When she viewed it in a quiet hospital room, tears of rage fell silently. "This will not stand," she said firmly. "We will fight this, Darius, all the way." News of the shooting spread rapidly through the base. Fellow soldiers gathered in shock. Colonel Camila Soto received the report and felt a deep anger mixed with sorrow. She had seen too many such cases, but this one struck close. Darius was one of hers. The body camera video began circulating online, released by an anonymous source within the department who could no longer stay silent. Public reaction was swift and fierce. Calls for justice echoed across social media. Protests formed outside the sheriff's office. In his hospital bed, hooked to monitors, Darius drifted between pain and awareness. Each shallow breath reminded him of the bullets. Each visitor reminded him of the brotherhood he still had. In quiet moments, he stared at the ceiling and made a silent promise. He had survived war zones overseas. He would survive this betrayal at home, and he would see justice done. That violence had set something irreversible in motion. The shots fired in anger would echo far beyond one man's body. They would expose truths long buried, force accountability long delayed, and change the course of many lives. Darius closed his eyes, gripping the bedsheet against the pain. He thought of his son, of the soldiers he had led, of the oath he had sworn to defend the Constitution. He would not let hatred win. Not this time. Captain Darius Hale lay motionless in the intensive care unit, surrounded by the steady hum of monitors. Pain pulsed from his chest wounds with every careful breath. Doctors had saved his life, removing 3 bullets in a long surgery. One had come dangerously close to his heart. Physically, he would recover. Emotionally, the damage ran far deeper. In the time that followed, a heavy shadow settled over him. The post-traumatic stress disorder from his 2 tours in Iraq returned without mercy. Flashbacks struck in broad daylight. He heard the crack of gunfire again, felt the impact again and again. Lawson's words replayed endlessly. "Boy, you think that uniform makes you somebody?" Rage mixed with profound sorrow. He had faced enemy fire overseas, yet survived only to be shot on an American road for no reason. Doubt crept in. Faith in the system he had served began to crack. Darius withdrew completely. He turned away fellow soldiers who came to visit. He spoke little, even to nurses. He stared at blank walls, wrestling with questions no one could answer. The body camera video spread like wildfire, released anonymously from within the sheriff's department. It reached millions. Viewers saw the calm compliance, the unprovoked pepper spray, the hateful words, the 3 shots into an unarmed man's chest. Outrage exploded across the country. Veterans groups marched. Civil rights leaders spoke out. Protests formed daily outside the sheriff's office in Virginia Beach. Hashtags carried the story nationwide. News networks replayed the footage, commentators demanding immediate federal action. Colonel Camila Soto learned of the shooting during a briefing at the Pentagon. Her heart sank. Darius Hale was more than a capable officer. He was a mentor to younger troops, a steady presence in chaos. She cleared her schedule and flew to Virginia Beach. Arriving at the hospital, she sat beside his bed. "Darius," she said gently, "you do not face this alone. The entire chain of command stands behind you." He met her eyes briefly, then looked away. "With respect, Colonel, the system protects its own, and I'm not sure I'm one of them anymore." Sophia Hale refused to accept defeat. As a civil rights attorney with years of fighting injustice, She arrived each day like clockwork. She brought legal updates, coordinated with the Department of Justice, and held his hand through the worst pain. "This is not just your fight," she told him one quiet moment. "It is for every black service member who puts on the uniform believing it will earn respect. We will hold them accountable." Dr. Elena Vargas, the hospital's lead trauma psychologist, met with Darius every day. She had treated countless veterans and understood the unique betrayal he felt. "Captain Hale," she said during one session, "what you experienced combines combat trauma with violation by the very institutions meant to protect you. The anger is valid. The doubt is valid. But silence gives power to those who harmed you." Darius listened, nodding slowly. Yet words still came hard. Then Amara Cruz arrived. She entered the room quietly, carrying the weight of her own loss. Amara's husband, Sergeant Malik Cruz, had been killed during a traffic stop in North Carolina years earlier. The officer claimed justification, but evidence pointed to prejudice. No charges were ever filed. Amara had turned grief into purpose, advocating for military families facing similar injustice. She sat beside Darius's bed, her voice calm, yet filled with quiet power. "Captain Hale," she began, "my Malik served 22 honorable years. He survived Afghanistan, came home to us, and died on a roadside for nothing more than driving while black. I know the darkness that surrounds you now. I lived in it for months. But good men like you cannot stay silent. Our sons are watching. Our daughters are watching. Thousands in uniform are watching. If you speak, you give them hope." She unfolded a triangular flag, the one presented at her husband's funeral, and placed it gently on his tray table. Malik believed in the promise of this country. He would want you to fight for that promise, not abandon it. Darius stared at the flag. Memories flooded him, leading young soldiers through danger, watching them grow, sharing the bond of service. Tears welled up, the first he had allowed since the shooting. His voice, hoarse from disuse, finally broke through. "Mrs. Cruz, tell me about Malik." They talked for hours. She shared stories of his laughter, his pride, his dreams for their children. In return, Darius spoke of his own son, of missions overseas, of the oath that still meant something to him. When Amara left, something shifted inside Darius. The darkness remained, but a spark had ignited. General Elias Crow, high in the Department of Defense, monitored developments closely. A veteran of earlier conflicts, he carried regrets from times when such incidents were ignored. He would not allow repetition. He ordered full resources, top medical care, legal support, security for Darius's family. "We protect our own," he stated firmly in a secure briefing. Support poured in from unexpected places. Letters arrived from active duty troops. Messages flooded Sophia's phone from veterans nationwide. Former comrades visited when Darius finally allowed it, sharing quiet words of solidarity. Physical therapy began. Each step hurt. Each breath pulled at healing scars. Yet he pressed on. One day, as sunlight streamed through the window, Darius asked Sophia for his laptop. He watched the body camera video alone for the first time. Pain surged anew, physical and emotional, but resolve grew stronger. He closed the computer and looked at his sister. "File every charge possible," he said, voice steady. "I will testify. I will see this through." Colonel Soto visited again soon after. She brought official news. The Justice Department had launched a full civil rights probe. Federal agents were already at work. "Darius," she said with pride, "your courage matters. This case will be different because of you." Amara returned often, bringing strength and shared understanding. Together they spoke of healing, of justice, of the long fight ahead. Darius Hale had nearly died on that roadside. Instead, he began to rise. The awakening was painful, but it was real. He would not only survive, he would stand tall once more, demanding the accountability his country owed him and every service member like him. The path forward would be hard, but for the first time since the shots rang out, Darius felt purpose return. Special Agent Kai Rivera arrived at the hospital. He introduced himself to Captain Darius Hale with the respect due a fellow public servant. "Captain, I lead the FBI's Civil Rights Division team on your case. The Department of Justice has prioritized this investigation." Darius, propped up in bed with bandages still binding his chest, nodded slowly. Pain flared with movement, but his mind was sharp. Rivera laid out the initial focus, a standard probe into excessive force and civil rights violations by Deputy Trent Lawson. Yet the early evidence pointed elsewhere. With a federal warrant, agents seized Lawson's phone, laptop, and home computer. What emerged in the forensic analysis shifted the entire direction. Encrypted apps revealed membership in Patriot Vanguard, an extremist organization structured much like others the FBI had monitored for years. Leaked rosters already in federal hands from prior investigations listed over 400 members, active duty police, sheriff's deputies, and former military across 8 eastern states. Lawson's name stood out, linked to regional leadership chats. Darius absorbed the information in silence at first. The shots that morning were not mere rage, they were calculated. Rivera continued carefully. "We arrested Victor Langley yesterday, a mid-level Veterans Affairs database contractor. He has confessed to selling veteran records for 3 years, addresses, service histories, family contacts. His buyers included Patriot Vanguard operatives. Langley's motive mixed profit with bitterness over military diversity policies he despised. Among the thousands of records sold was your complete file, flagged months earlier as a priority observation due to your rank and race. The weight of it settled heavily. Someone had studied him, chosen him. Anger rose, but Darius channeled it. "How many others?" he asked. Rivera met his gaze. "Dozens we know of so far. Harassment, fabricated stops, assaults. Some ended in shootings ruled justified locally." The pattern chilled the room. Colonel Camila Soto attended the next briefing via secure video from the Pentagon. She had advocated for full Department of Defense involvement. General Elias Crow approved it immediately. "Captain Hale's case exposes a threat to our personnel," he stated. Military intelligence analysts, including Sergeant Lena Park, began cross-referencing Veterans Affairs leaks with known extremist watch lists. Park worked long hours tracing digital footprints. Her reports confirmed recruitment through private online groups where disinformation spread unchecked. Narratives portraying minority officers as internal threats to American values. Sophia Hale sat through every session, legal pad in hand. She challenged gaps, demanded timelines. "We need every victim identified," she pressed. Rivera agreed. Subpoenas flew to telecom companies, social platforms, banks. More stories emerged. A Latino Marine followed home in Georgia. A black naval officer repeatedly pulled over in Maryland. A female Asian American veteran threatened in South Carolina. One case mirrored Amara Cruz's tragedy. A sergeant killed during a stop. The officer quietly tied to the same network through leaked messages. Dr. Elena Vargas monitored Darius's emotional state closely. The revelations stirred fresh trauma. Sleep grew fitful. Pain medications helped the body, but the mind raced. In therapy, she said gently, "You are processing betrayal on a scale few face. It is normal to feel rage." Darius responded with new determination. Rage without action is wasted. Use me as your witness. He began reviewing evidence files from his recovery room. Physical therapy first, then secure briefings. He spotted details others missed, coded phrases from his own military experience, patrol patterns suggesting coordination. His insights proved invaluable. Amara Cruz visited regularly, bringing quiet strength. One day she shared new letters from other widows and families. "Your cooperation is giving them hope," she said. Darius took encouragement from it. He spoke with his son more often, explaining the fight without shielding the pain. "This is why we serve," he told the young man, "to make the country better than we found it." General Crow called personally again. "Captain, your analysis has opened doors we did not know existed. Continue as you are able." Darius thanked him, then asked about broader protections. Plans were forming, alerts to bases, training on recognizing extremist signs, direct reporting channels to federal authorities. Rivera returned frequently. Trust deepened into partnership. One pivotal moment he asked outright, "Captain Hale, will you be our primary cooperating witness? Your testimony as a decorated officer, targeted for who you are, carries moral weight no one else can match." Darius weighed the dangers. Online threats had escalated. Anonymous calls to Sophia, subtle surveillance noted by security details. Yet he thought of young troops, of Amara's children, of the oath that bound him still. That same day, after therapy, Darius gave his answer. "Agent Rivera, I am in, all the way." Interviews intensified. In a secure conference room, Darius recounted every second of the stop, the calm compliance, the pepper spray, the shots into his chest. He described the physical agony, the deeper humiliation, the moment he believed he would die on that road. His voice remained measured, powerful, unflinching. Prosecutors took detailed notes. The case grew from one officer's crime into a conspiracy indictment. More arrests came quietly. Mid-level members caught with Langley's data. Bank records showed small payments traced to Donovan Briggs, ex-Lieutenant Donovan Briggs, discharged honorably on paper, but removed quietly for radical views. He had transformed Patriot Vanguard into a shadow network. Meetings masked as veteran support groups. Training weekends billed as tactical refreshers. Sheriff Grant Hollis's name surfaced repeatedly. Messages proved he knew of Lawson's affiliations, yet intervened to protect him after prior complaints. Loyalty to the badge outweighed duty to the law. As time passed, Darius moved to a secure rehabilitation facility. Physical strength returned gradually. Scars tightened, but he walked farther each day. Mentally, purpose solidified. He reviewed grand jury preparations, advised on military culture for agents, connected Rivera with other victims willing to speak. The network's reach became clearer. Not random bigotry, but organized intimidation aimed at minority service members. Foreign disinformation amplified it online, sowing division for distant benefit. Darius Hale now saw the full threat. Those bullets were intended to terrorize and silence. Instead, they had forged an unbreakable witness. The uncovering continued deeper each day. Justice demanded thoroughness. He would provide it no matter the cost. Light was breaking through the darkness, and Darius stood ready to carry it forward. Ex-Lieutenant Donovan Briggs once wore the uniform with pride, commanding respect in Army intelligence units. His downfall began gradually. Superiors noted increasingly sharp comments about recruitment standards, diversity training, and what he termed political interference in military readiness. Warnings followed. Briggs doubled down. A final incident, an email chain criticizing leadership decisions, led to his forced retirement. The papers cited conduct unbecoming. but Briggs saw conspiracy. Alone on his Suffolk farm, hours became filled with reading fringe sites. Resentment grew into conviction. He started small online groups for real veterans. Patriot Vanguard was born from those quiet beginnings, a network vowing to safeguard the nation from what Briggs believed was internal erosion. Trent Lawson's journey mirrored many. A Marine sergeant with multiple combat deployments, he returned home to chronic pain and unseen wounds. Medications helped the body but clouded the mind. Civilian jobs felt meaningless. Days stretched empty. He joined veteran forums seeking connection. Posts lamenting lost discipline caught his eye. One day, an algorithm pushed a video, Briggs speaking plainly about threats from within the ranks. "We served the real America," Briggs said. "Now it's slipping away." Lawson watched, rewatched, then reached out. Private messages led to invitations. Weekend gatherings in remote fields blended shooting drills with talks on duty beyond service. Lawson felt purpose return. Belonging replaced isolation. Views shifted month by month. Diversity became division. Minority leaders became symbols of decline. Lawson volunteered eagerly, monitoring lists, reporting sightings, coordinating with local law enforcement contacts. Sheriff Grant Hollis navigated politics carefully. Elected on promises of strong policing, he courted conservative voters with tough rhetoric. Complaints against aggressive deputies rose, including several against Lawson. Hollis reviewed them, then routed most to internal affairs for quiet resolution. Loyalty mattered. One day, an invitation arrived for a veteran law enforcement seminar. Briggs hosted. Hollis attended as guest speaker. Discussions stayed professional on the surface. Budgets, training gaps. Beneath, shared frustrations surfaced. Hollis heard echoes of his constituents' concerns. He left without joining, but with new contacts. Later, reports of Lawson's activities reached his desk. Hollis weighed risks. Exposure could cost elections. Silence preserved order. He chose the latter. Victor Langley worked quietly in Veterans Affairs systems for decades, a mid-level contractor managing veteran databases. He watched policies evolve. Benefits expanded. Diversity goals rose. His own advancement stalled. Resentment simmered. One day, an encrypted message offered payment for discrete data queries. Langley paused, then accepted. Early transfers seemed minor, basic service records. Payments arrived promptly. Justification grew easier. He convinced himself he corrected imbalances, earned what bureaucracy denied. Requests escalated. Full profiles on minority officers, addresses, routines. Langley supplied them without hesitation. Days at his terminal became routine extraction. Funds built a comfortable buffer. Guilt faded entirely. Patriot Vanguard matured under Briggs's guidance. Recruitment drives through targeted ads on veteran platforms. Disinformation flowed. Fabricated stories of military favoritism, foreign manipulation via progressive policies. Vulnerable men recently separated, struggling financially, feeling forgotten, found community. Briggs nurtured carefully. Initial meetings focused on shared service memories. Ideology deepened gradually. Sessions mixed practical skills with lectures on threats. Members rose through commitment, monitoring, reporting, occasional direct action. Lawson embodied full transformation. Once guided by Marine values of honor and inclusivity, he now viewed difference as danger. On shift, he cross-referenced plates against Langley's updates. Darius Hale appeared prominent. Visible rank, Community involvement. Black officer succeeding in what Lawson saw as a corrupted system. Watching became fixation. Opportunity awaited. Hollis received indirect benefits. Crime statistics improved through aggressive patrols. Voter approval held steady. Whispers of deputy involvement in private groups reached him. He deflected inquiries, praising initiative. Political survival demanded selective vision. Langley expanded access. Higher clearance brought broader data. He rationalized deeply, restoring fairness, supporting those truly deserving. Payments funded comforts he felt entitled to after years overlooked. Special Agent Rivera pieced timelines during reviews with Darius. Digital trails painted clear progression. Briggs's old emails showed early radicalization. Lawson's browser history traced isolation to indoctrination. Hollis's calendar entries confirmed event attendance. Langley's financial spikes matched data transfers. Darius studied reports carefully. Recognition struck deeply. These were not innate villains. They were men who chose darkness over light, step by deliberate step. Bitterness unchecked. Community poisoned. Duty twisted into justification. Understanding fueled resolve, not sympathy. They had choices, he told Rivera one day. Every day, they chose wrong. Sophia compiled motive evidence. Messages celebrated successful contacts. Shared articles blamed diversity for perceived military decline. Patterns emerged. Targeted intimidation of minority service members. Amara Cruz read summaries Darius forwarded. "The same poison took my Malik," she said softly during a visit. Shared loss strengthened alliance. Colonel Soto relayed military findings. General Crow expanded audits. Sergeant Lena Park uncovered amplification networks, overseas linked accounts boosting divisive content precisely to vulnerable feeds. Dr. Elena Vargas noted Darius's growing clarity. "Understanding the process helps you face it," she observed. Therapy sessions shifted from pain to strategy. The radicalization revealed itself fully, not explosion, but erosion. Days of doubt turned evenings of certainty. Isolation weaponized into coordinated threat. Personal grievance scaled into network danger. Briggs sensed gathering storm. Preparations intensified. Contingency plans. Evidence dispersal. Emergency signals. Hollis doubled down on department unity messages. Exposure loomed, but denial held. Lawson patrolled with heightened vigilance. Purpose burned bright. Langley continued transfers. Unaware surveillance closed in. Darius reflected nightly. He had guided soldiers through moral tests overseas. Now he faced domestic ones. The difference lay in daily choices: to heal or harm, unite or divide. Rivera prepared broader indictments. Conspiracy layered atop civil rights crimes. The network's skeleton exposed: architect, recruiters, enablers, executors. Darius's scars reminded constantly. Physical limits eased. Moral strength solidified. He would confront these corrupted choices, ensure consequences matched harm. The radicalization had forged weapons from broken men. Justice would dismantle them piece by piece. Understanding the descent clarified the ascent needed. Darius Hale prepared for the confrontation ahead, steady and unafraid. Light always follows exposure. He would help bring it. After months of meticulous investigation, the FBI launched the operation. 32 locations across multiple states faced simultaneous dawn raids. Special Agent Kai Rivera had coordinated every detail in late-night briefings. "We prioritize safety and evidence," he reminded teams. "Lives matter more than arrests." Captain Darius Hale, recovered enough for limited duty, though chest scars tightened with stress, requested assignment to the team targeting ex-Lieutenant Donovan Briggs. "I need to be there," he told Rivera firmly. "Not for vengeance, for the soldiers who cannot speak." Rivera weighed the request, then agreed. Darius's insight into military mindset and his moral authority could prove decisive. The day broke clear and crisp. Darius rode in the lead armored SUV with Rivera and a seasoned tactical unit, convoy heading toward Briggs's secluded farm in Suffolk. Across the region, other teams converged silently. Radios whispered confirmations. Site Alpha secure. 2 in custody. No resistance. Most locations yielded quickly. Members caught asleep or at breakfast, surrendering without fight. Evidence flowed in. Hard drives packed with recruitment files, printed training manuals laced with ideology, weapons lockers holding rifles and ammunition, financial ledgers showing anonymous donations routed through apps. Victor Langley's complete data archive surfaced intact from 3 separate homes. Sheriff Grant Hollis's office computers revealed messages proving he ignored warnings about Lawson for years. At Briggs's compound, the response differed sharply. Motion sensors triggered early. Floodlights snapped on. Briggs's voice echoed over a loudspeaker system. "This is private property. Federal agents have no jurisdiction here. Leave now." Tactical teams fanned out methodically, establishing perimeters under first light. Snipers settled into positions. Negotiators opened channels, calling for peaceful surrender. Briggs refused outright. He barricaded inside the main farmhouse with 4 loyalists, armed heavily, and claiming improvised explosives wired to doors. The standoff began. Hours ticked by under rising sun. Heat built gradually. Darius remained behind cover with command, monitoring feeds. Briggs broadcast intermittently, rants about government overreach, betrayal of oaths, the need to resist infiltration of institutions. His words carried the same poison that had radicalized so many. Rivera observed Briggs's pattern. He's stalling, hoping for media or supporters. Darius nodded. Classic delaying tactic. He wants to control the narrative. As time stretched, negotiators brought family members online. Wives pleaded. Children cried. One holdout surrendered first, emerging shaken with hands high. 2 more followed after heated internal arguments overheard on bugs. Briggs remained defiant, alone now. Rivera turned to Darius. He might listen to a fellow officer, not as negotiator, as soldier to soldier. Darius accepted the radio without hesitation. He keyed the mic. "Briggs, this is Captain Darius Hale, United States Army." A long pause followed. Then Briggs's voice, laced with recognition and scorn. "Hale, the one Lawson put down. Still breathing, I see." Darius kept composure. "Breathing and standing, Briggs, because good people acted. Now you have a choice to act honorably." Briggs laughed coldly. "Honor? You climbed ranks on quotas. The military I served is gone, replaced by weakness. By those who don't belong," Darius responded steadily. "I earned my rank leading men in combat, same as you once did. I buried brothers of every race, creed, and background who died defending this country together. Your hate divides what made us strong. It dishonors every grave I visited." Briggs's tone shifted, defensive. "They forced me out for speaking truth, political correctness over readiness." Darius pressed gently but firmly. "Truth doesn't require secret networks. It doesn't need leaked files to target innocent troops. It doesn't justify shooting an unarmed man complying on a public road. Surrender now. Face judgment like the officer you claim to be." Negotiators reinforced Darius's words. Psychological profiles guided the approach, appealing to Briggs's faded sense of duty. Family pleas resumed. Sun beat down relentlessly. Dehydration set in for the holdout. Internal feeds showed pacing, growing isolation. Breakthrough came. Briggs's final broadcast wavered. "You may take me today, Captain, but the ideas live on." Yet exhaustion cracked his resolve. Darius spoke once more. "Ideas built on hate die in light. Briggs, come out. End this without more loss." Minutes later, the front door creaked open. Briggs emerged slowly, hands raised high, rifle left inside. Tactical teams swarmed forward, securing him smoothly. No shots fired, no injuries. The compound fell under full control. Evidence teams poured in. Servers held years of recruitment data. Message logs confirming coordination with overseas amplification accounts. Financial trails showed small but steady contributions funneled cleverly. Training videos blended legitimate tactics with extremist lectures. Target lists named dozens more service members, lives preserved by intervention. Darius observed the arrest from the command post. Briggs passed nearby in cuffs, eyes meeting briefly. No words, only mutual recognition of paths irretrievably divided. One toward service, one toward destruction. Rivera clasped Darius's shoulder. "It's done. The core is broken." Darius exhaled deeply. Scars ached under the warming sun. Memories of that fateful roadside vivid. "A major step," he replied, "but trials remain. True closure comes there." Colonel Soto phoned congratulations that evening. "Your presence made the difference, Darius." General Crow echoed praise, announcing expanded protections for at-risk personnel. Amara Cruz called, voice thick with emotion. "For Malik, and for you. Thank you." Sophia arrived later, embracing her brother tightly. "Proud doesn't cover it." As dusk settled over the secured farm, Darius walked the perimeter once. He thought of shots that nearly ended him, of long recovery nights, of choices that brought everyone here. Most profoundly, he thought of tomorrow, safer days for troops driving to duty. The raid exceeded expectations. No casualties. Network shattered. Evidence irrefutable. Confrontation resolved not through force, but surrender to overwhelming truth. Darius Hale departed as stars emerged. Physical wounds healed. Inner strength forged. A new justice advanced decisively. Hope hard-won began to rise. The federal trial began in Richmond. Security surrounded the courthouse, agents at every entrance, metal detectors processing lines of witnesses, journalists, and supporters. Captain Darius Hale arrived early, wearing his dress uniform for the first time since the shooting. Ribbons and medals caught the light, silent testimony to 20 years of honorable service. Scars from the 3 bullets remained hidden beneath fabric, but occasional tightness reminded him with every breath. Special Agent Kai Rivera met him outside the courtroom doors. "This is the day truth gets its full hearing," Rivera said with quiet confidence. Darius replied simply, "Then let's make sure the jury hears it clearly." United States Attorney Isabella Quinn led the prosecution team with relentless preparation. She had assembled an airtight case: conspiracy to deprive civil rights under color of law, domestic terrorism sentencing enhancements, unlawful access to government databases, obstruction of justice, and seditious conspiracy against the leadership. Judge Marisol Vega, a veteran jurist known for fairness under pressure, presided with measured authority. She understood the national spotlight. Jury selection had consumed weeks, ensuring impartiality amid widespread coverage. Opening statements unfolded. Quinn addressed jurors directly, voice steady and compelling. "Ladies and gentlemen, this trial is not about isolated mistakes. It is about a deliberate network that turned badges into weapons and targeted American service members because of the color of their skin or their background. They betrayed the public trust and the very oath they claimed to defend. Defense counsel countered with claims of overreach, protected free speech, and individual errors blown out of proportion. Jurors took careful notes, faces serious. Darius testified as the centerpiece witness across 3 full days. He took the stand erect, eyes meeting jurors without flinching. He recounted the stop minute by minute, the sudden lights, immediate compliance, hands visible, polite words, the unprovoked pepper spray, Lawson's hateful tone, the 3 shots into his chest. He described the physical agony, burning lungs, warm blood spreading, the world narrowing to survival. He spoke of deeper wounds, humiliation as a decorated officer reduced to bleeding on pavement for no crime. Cross-examination turned intense. Lawson's attorney probed aggressively. "Captain, isn't it possible you made a sudden move?" Darius answered firmly. "No, sir. The body camera shows every second. I followed orders until bullets made further compliance impossible." Another lawyer suggested provocation. Darius responded evenly. "Provocation for existing while black in uniform? No, sir." The courtroom held its breath. His testimony carried moral force no rebuttal could shake. Other victims strengthened the pattern. Amara Cruz took the stand, voice trembling yet unbroken. She detailed her husband Sergeant Malik Cruz's final traffic stop, the unjustified shots, the officer's later ties to Patriot Vanguard. "He served 22 years honorably," she said, tears falling. "He came home from war only to die here for nothing." A young Latino Marine described repeated fabricated stops that eroded his career. A female Asian American naval officer recounted threats forcing her resignation. Jurors shifted uncomfortably as connections crystallized. Evidence presentation spanned weeks. Rivera testified extensively, guiding jurors through digital forensics, seized servers revealing recruitment chains, message threads celebrating lessons taught, target lists with Darius's name highlighted. Sergeant Lena Park explained online amplification, foreign linked accounts boosting divisive content to radicalize vulnerable veterans. Prosecutors projected financial trails, small donations funneled cleverly to support operations. Langley, after pleading guilty, appeared as cooperating witness. His testimony chilled, years profiting from betrayal, rationalizing sales of lives. "I told myself it balanced things," he admitted, head lowered. Lawson took the stand in defense. He claimed fear for his life, split-second choices. Quinn's cross-examination dismantled calmly. Messages surfaced, pre-shooting boasts in group chats, post-shooting celebrations. Remorse never emerged, only excuses. Hollis portrayed administrative overload. Evidence contradicted. Dismissed complaints, protected deputies with known ties. His confidence eroded under scrutiny. Briggs spoke last and longest. He framed Patriot Vanguard as pure patriotism, warning of national decline. Quinn countered methodically. Patriotism does not plot against fellow citizens. It does not leak records to intimidate. It does not end with 3 bullets in a compliant officer's chest. Briggs glared across at Darius. No direct words, only the chasm of choices. Closing arguments arrived. Quinn spoke to jurors with quiet power. These defendants abused sacred trust. They targeted those who defended our freedoms because they looked different. Hold them fully accountable. For Captain Hale, for Sergeant Cruz, for every service member who wears the uniform expecting protection, not persecution. Defense pleaded for leniency, emphasized context, regret. Jurors retired to deliberate. 8 tense days followed. Darius spent time walking courthouse grounds with Sophia, reflecting with Amara over coffee. Colonel Soto visited midweek. "Win or lose the verdict," she said, "you have already shifted the ground beneath them." General Crow monitored closely, preparing statements either way. Verdicts came. The courtroom packed. Guilty on all primary counts. Lawson, 25 years without parole. Hollis, 10 years for conspiracy and obstruction. Langley, 15 years for database crimes. Briggs, 18 years, the full seditious conspiracy term sought. Lesser members received 5 to 12 years. Several mid-trial pleas sealed cooperating deals. Darius sat motionless as counts were read. Relief washed gently, not dramatically. Amara squeezed his hand, tears flowing freely. Sophia leaned close. "It's finished," she whispered. Outside, media swarmed. Darius spoke briefly to cameras. "Today, justice honors those who serve quietly every day. We heal now. We build forward." Quinn addressed reporters. "This sends an unmistakable message. Extremism hiding behind authority faces full consequence." Judge Vega commended jury diligence. Reactions swept the nation. Veterans groups hailed landmark accountability. Military commands reaffirmed commitments. Immediate reforms accelerated. Enhanced bias training. Federal oversight in base-adjacent departments. Direct reporting lines for service members. Darius returned home that evening. He sat with his son under porch light, sharing the weight finally lifted. Physical scars ached less. Emotional ones began true mending. Dr. Elena Vargas checked in days later. "You carried this for all of us," she said. Darius smiled faintly. "We carried it together." The trial closed a long, painful chapter. Accountability achieved thoroughly. Wounds endured, but hope emerged stronger. Captain Darius Hale had faced his attackers in open court. Truth prevailed completely. The promise of justice, severely tested, proved resilient. A new day dawned for many in uniform. Captain Darius Hale formally retired from the United States Army on a serene day exactly 1 year after the final verdicts. The small ceremony at the base felt intimate rather than grand. Close comrades stood in formation. Family sat proudly in the front row. General Elias Crow traveled from the Pentagon to pin the retirement medal himself. His voice carried genuine warmth. "Captain Hale," he said, "your 20 years of service defended this nation overseas, and in its darkest hour defended its very soul here at home. We are forever in your debt." Darius accepted the honor with quiet grace. The uniform he wore that day would be his last on duty. Scars from the bullets remained etched beneath the fabric, silent reminders of the cost. Yet his eyes held steady peace. He launched the Uniform Shield Foundation weeks later. The nonprofit focused solely on supporting military personnel and veterans facing discrimination or violence from law enforcement. Office days filled with purpose, answering calls from frightened young troops, guiding families through reporting processes, connecting victims to counseling and legal aid. Darius listened more than he spoke, offering the calm strength born of his own journey. Sophia joined as legal director, reviewing cases, filing suits when needed. Amara Cruz partnered closely, expanding her scholarship program to include children of affected service members. Their combined efforts built a nationwide safety net, one life at a time. Reforms swept through federal agencies, directly shaped by the trial's revelations. The Department of Defense and Department of Justice established joint oversight programs for law enforcement in communities with major military installations. Mandatory annual training now covered bias recognition, de-escalation with veterans, and signs of post-traumatic stress. Direct federal hotlines allowed service members to report incidents anonymously, bypassing local chains when necessary. Colonel Camila Soto led curriculum development, drawing from decades of observed inequities. Sergeant Lena Park designed digital monitoring systems to flag early extremist indicators in public records and social platforms. Public awareness deepened steadily. Darius accepted speaking invitations selectively. Veteran conferences, university campuses, congressional committees. He shared his story without sensationalism, emphasizing healing over hate. Audiences sat rapt as he described the shots, the long nights of pain, the trial's weight. Questions always followed. How do we prevent this? How do we rebuild trust? Darius answered with hard-earned wisdom. By choosing accountability over silence, bridge building over division, every single day. Perfection is not required. Progress is. Dr. Elena Vargas maintained contact long after formal therapy. Monthly walks on quiet trails. They discussed lingering echoes. You turned personal betrayal into collective protection, she reflected one day. Darius smiled faintly. Not alone. It took every hand extended along the way. He facilitated support groups, guiding others through similar darkness. Listening healed as much as speaking. His son, now graduated, joined the foundation full-time. Father and son worked side by side, mending bonds tested by the ordeal. Sophia's caseload grew, securing settlements that funded community outreach. Amara's scholarships multiplied, sending dozens of military children to college, carrying forward her husband's quiet legacy. Law enforcement evolution continued. Many departments requested voluntary federal audits. Training academies integrated modules on military culture, veteran mental health, respectful interactions. Former skeptics became partners, acknowledging blind spots the trial illuminated. General Crow retired months later, spending his final time advocating reforms bearing his imprint. Annual joint audits, rapid response task forces, explicit bans on extremist affiliations. We owe Captain Hale and countless others eternal vigilance, he declared in farewell remarks. Darius aged with quiet dignity. Gray threaded his hair. Scars faded to silver lines. Days at Virginia Beach became sacred ritual. He walked the shoreline at sunrise, waves whispering against sand where his blood once spilled. Pain eased gradually. Emotional burdens lightened more profoundly. He reflected on the men, Bourgeois, now imprisoned, Lawson's long isolation, Briggs's defeated ideology, Hollis's lost authority, Langley's regretted greed. No lingering hatred, only sorrow for choices that destroyed lives, including their own. Gratitude filled those reflections more. Rivera's tireless pursuit, Soto's steadfast mentorship, Crow's institutional courage, Park's analytical precision, Vargas's compassionate guidance, Quinn's prosecutorial fire, Vega's judicial fairness. Above all, ordinary citizens, jurors who weighed evidence carefully, protesters who demanded better, everyday Americans who refused to look away. One day, a group of young enlisted personnel approached on the beach. They saluted shyly. "Sir, your foundation helped my buddy after a bad stop," one said. Darius returned the salute, then shook hands. "Keep serving proudly. We're making it safer together." Media requests persisted, but Darius chose impact over exposure. He authored a memoir, donating all proceeds. Speaking focused on reconciliation, joint training between veterans and officers, shared understanding across divides. Amara expanded nationally, memorials honoring the fallen and the resilient. Sophia's precedents protected future victims. Years accumulated. The foundation assisted thousands. Reforms prevented countless incidents. Patriot Vanguard dissolved into cautionary history, its name invoked in training as what never to become. Darius's days remained beach walks, His son often joined. Conversations deepened. Legacy, responsibility, hope. One final sunrise, Darius stood watching light spread across the water. He thought of the country he nearly died defending. Imperfect, divided at times, yet capable of self-correction when good people act. He whispered to the gentle waves, "We do not fight for a flawless nation. We fight to make it better. One day, one choice, one life at a time." In the distance, formation runs echoed, voices united in cadence. The legacy lived quietly but powerfully, not in monuments, but in protected lives, rebuilt trust, enduring justice. Captain Darius Hale had faced death twice for his country. He chose to live, strengthening it. Reform took deep root. Healing spread widely. A brighter dawn arrived for all who serve. Hope forged in trial, shone eternal. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If it moved you, please like, subscribe, and share.